1. The Gulf Breeze 6, a military mystery that haunts us still. In July 1990, an event unfolded within the U.S. Army that seemed more like a chapter from a spy thriller than reality. 6 soldiers, trained cryptographers serving in the 701st Military Intelligence Brigade in Augsburg, Germany, abandoned their posts and made their way to Gulf Breeze, Florida, claiming they were on a divine mission to save the world. What they left behind were baffled military officials, a trail of questions, and a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. These weren't just ordinary soldiers. Each member of the Gulf Breeze 6 had been selected for their roles due to their intelligence and expertise. Handling classified materials daily, they were part of a tightly monitored system during a period of heightened global tension. Their sudden desertion wasn't just a betrayal of duty. It was a glaring breach of security, raising alarms about what they knew and why they left. The Gulf Breeze 6 weren't thrill-seekers or amateur conspiracists. They were, by all accounts, ordinary young people who excelled in their military roles. Among them, Vance Davis stood out as a charismatic leader with an interest in metaphysical subjects. He and others in the group reportedly dabbled in practices like spiritualism, Ouija boards, and the study of esoteric texts. While unusual, such interests were not unheard of in high-stress, high-security environments. The group's other members, Annette Eccleston, Margaret MacDonald, Michael Huckstedt, Kenneth Beeson, and Chris Beeson, shared similar backgrounds as cryptographers. They were tasked with interpreting highly sensitive military communications. Despite their training and backgrounds, they all seemed to share a growing dissatisfaction with their military roles. Some claimed they felt morally conflicted about their work, while others hinted at a belief that they were being exposed to hidden knowledge far beyond their comprehension. The Gulf Breeze 6 didn't just walk off base. They orchestrated an escape that defied the military's extensive security protocols. They withdrew their savings, purchased commercial plane tickets, and carefully coordinated their departure to avoid suspicion. Despite being on a government watch list, they managed to travel thousands of miles, crossing multiple borders, and eventually arriving in Florida without triggering alarms. Their ability to avoid detection raises critical questions. Were the military's tracking systems ineffective, or were these soldiers receiving help from an unknown source? Some theorists argue that their successful desertion suggests they may have had access to insider information, potentially exploiting loopholes in the system they had been a part of. Gulf Breeze, Florida was an unusual choice of destination, but not for the Gulf Breeze 6. The small town was a well-known hotspot for UFO sightings, attracting enthusiasts and skeptics alike. Between 1987 and 1990, Gulf Breeze had become synonymous with extraterrestrial phenomena, largely due to the infamous photographs and testimonies of local resident Ed Walters. Whether those sightings were genuine or not, they captured the imaginations of many, including the 6 soldiers. Once in Gulf Breeze, the group didn't go into hiding. Instead, they attended local UFO meetings, spoke with locals, and seemed remarkably open about their presence. This behavior stood in stark contrast to what might be expected of deserters fleeing military justice. It was almost as if they believed they were protected by their mission, or perhaps something greater. After their arrest, the group claimed they had received orders from God to prevent the apocalypse. Their accounts were eerily consistent. Each of them had experienced visions or received messages, either through dreams or spiritual practices. According to their testimony, they believed they were chosen to play a crucial role in saving humanity. Their mission, as strange as it sounded, didn't feel random. Gulf Breeze wasn't just a UFO hotspot. It was also home to various spiritual movements and metaphysical communities. Did the group see Gulf Breeze as a beacon for divine intervention? Or were they drawn to it for reasons even they didn't fully understand? The military's response to the Gulf Breeze 6 was unusually swift and secretive. The group was court-martialed, but their punishment was unexpectedly light. They were discharged from service, avoiding prison time altogether. For soldiers who had deserted their posts and compromised national security, this leniency was puzzling. The secrecy surrounding their case has fueled speculation. Some theorists argue the group may have stumbled upon classified projects involving UFOs, psychic research, or mind control. Others suggest they were deliberately silenced to prevent the release of sensitive information. Some theorists suggest the group may have linked their visions of apocalypse to extraterrestrial contact. Could their divine mission have been influenced by something they encountered during their military service? Something they interpreted as otherworldly? The group's story also invites questions about their mental state. Could stress, isolation, or exposure to classified materials have triggered a collective psychological breakdown? Some experts point to the group's use of Ouija boards and other spiritual practices, suggesting these activities might have influenced their beliefs. Others propose that they may have been unknowingly exposed to military psychological experiments, such as those conducted under the infamous MKUltra program. To this day, the Gulf Breeze 6 case remains an enigma. Were they visionaries, delusional deserters, or victims of circumstances beyond their control? Why did they choose Gulf Breeze, and what did they hope to accomplish there? Perhaps most hauntingly, what did they know or believe that made them abandon everything for a mission they couldn't fully explain? And yet, the Gulf Breeze 6 are just one piece of a larger puzzle. If this story left you questioning what truths the military might still be hiding, wait until you hear about a nuclear bomb that's been missing for over 6 decades and might still be armed. To the lost nuke of Tybee Island, a bomb still out there? In 1958, the Cold War was at its height, and the fear of nuclear confrontation loomed large over every military decision. It was an era of tense diplomacy, high-stakes espionage, and sometimes catastrophic accidents. One such accident involved a Mark 15 nuclear bomb, a weapon powerful enough to obliterate a major city, lost in the waters off Tybee Island, Georgia. Over 6 decades later, the bomb remains missing, its exact location and condition unknown, leaving behind a legacy of mystery and unease. On February 5, 1958, a U.S. Air Force B-47 Stratojet bomber departed from Homestead Air Force Base in Florida for a routine training mission. Aboard the aircraft was a Mark 15 thermonuclear bomb, carried as part of a simulation exercise. The crew's mission was to practice maneuvers involving the transportation of nuclear payloads, critical training given the rising tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. However, during the mission, disaster struck. While flying over Tybee Island, the B-47 collided with an F-86 Sabre fighter jet. The Sabre suffered catastrophic damage, forcing its pilot to eject. Miraculously, he survived. The bomber, though heavily damaged, managed to stay in the air, but the crew now faced a grim reality. Their aircraft was unstable, and they were carrying one of the most destructive weapons ever created. Faced with limited options, Colonel Howard Richardson, the pilot of the B-47, made the decision to jettison the Mark 15 bomb. He aimed for Wassaw Sound, a shallow bay near Tybee Island, hoping the bomb would sink into the mud and pose no immediate danger. The crew's lives were at stake, and the safety of nearby populated areas, including Savannah, depended on minimizing the risk of an uncontrolled crash. The plan worked. The bomber safely landed at Hunter Air Force Base, and the crew survived. But when the military dispatched divers to recover the bomb, they discovered it was gone. Initial searches of Wassaw Sound yielded nothing, and over the next several weeks, search teams scoured the area using sonar and underwater detection equipment. The bomb had vanished without a trace. The Mark 15 thermonuclear bomb was an advanced weapon of the time, designed to deliver a devastating payload with precision. It measured over 12 feet in length, weighed approximately 7,600 pounds, and had a yield of 3.8 megatons, hundreds of times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Officially, the bomb carried during the Tybee Island mission was described as a training device, meaning it lacked a plutonium core necessary for a nuclear detonation. However, this claim has been hotly contested. Declassified documents and eyewitness testimonies suggest the bomb may have been fully armed with both its uranium and plutonium components. If this is true, the weapon posed and still poses a catastrophic risk. To this day, the U.S. government has refused to release conclusive evidence about whether the Tybee Island bomb was live. The military's search for the Mark 15 was one of the most extensive recovery efforts of its time. Divers worked tirelessly to comb through the murky waters of Wassaw Sound, facing difficult conditions that hampered visibility and mobility. The official explanation was that the bomb was likely buried deep in the mud, rendering recovery efforts both dangerous and impractical. Critics, however, argue that the military's decision to abandon the search may have been influenced by concerns over public panic or the potential liability of admitting the bomb was live. One of the most troubling aspects of the Tybee Island incident is the environmental risk the bomb may still pose. If the weapon's casing were to corrode over time, it could release radioactive materials into the surrounding waters, potentially contaminating local ecosystems. Experts have also warned that disturbing the bomb, whether through fishing, dredging, or natural underwater shifts, could lead to catastrophic consequences if it's still armed. For the residents of Savannah and Tybee Island, the thought of a missing nuclear bomb lying just offshore is a grim reality they've learned to live with. Yet, the uncertainty surrounding the weapon's condition and location remains a source of anxiety for many. The disappearance of the Mark 15 bomb has spawned countless conspiracy theories. Some suggest the bomb was never lost at all, but secretly relocated to another site for testing or other classified purposes. Others believe it was stolen, perhaps by Soviet agents operating in the United States during the height of the Cold War. Adding fuel to these theories is the military's refusal to declassify certain details about the incident. These inconsistencies have led many to speculate that the government may be hiding the truth about the bomb's fate. Decades after the incident, the Mark 15 bomb remains a chilling reminder of the risks associated with nuclear weapons. One thing is certain: the Tybee Island bomb has become an enduring mystery that captures the imagination of historians, scientists, and conspiracy theorists alike. Was the bomb truly inert, as officials claimed, or is it still a fully armed weapon waiting to be discovered? And if it is ever found, what would the consequences be for the people of Georgia and beyond? Its story serves as a powerful symbol of the Cold War's legacy, a period marked by secrecy, fear, and the ever-present threat of annihilation. But while the Mark 15 bomb raises questions about accountability and safety, our next story ventures into even more unsettling territory. Imagine a deadly expedition, unexplained injuries, and whispers of secret military experiments. Let's uncover the chilling truth behind it and its potential connection to covert operations. 3. The Dyatlov Pass Incident, a deadly mystery with military shadows. In the winter of 1959, a group of 9 hikers embarked on what should have been a challenging yet achievable trek through the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. Led by Igor Dyatlov, the group was comprised of skilled climbers and outdoor enthusiasts, each with experience navigating extreme conditions. Their goal was to reach Otorten Mountain, a remote and rugged destination. However, what began as a routine expedition soon turned into one of the most enduring and chilling mysteries in modern history. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women, all in their 20s, except for Semyon Zolotaryov, a 37-year-old war veteran with a murky past. Zolotaryov's inclusion has been the subject of much speculation. Unlike the rest, who were university students or recent graduates, Zolotaryov was a stranger to the group, joining at the last minute to earn a higher trekking qualification. His military background, paired with his older age and cryptic behavior during the journey, has led some to question his true intentions. Was he simply another adventurer, or could he have been connected to something more covert? The group's camaraderie is evident from their diaries and photographs, which show them laughing and enjoying their time together despite the grueling conditions. However, tensions may have brewed below the surface. Some entries hint at arguments or unease, though they stop short of revealing specific conflicts. On February 1, 1959, the group deviated from their planned path and set up camp on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl. Known as Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language, this barren and windswept location was an odd choice for an experienced team. The area offered no shelter from harsh winds, and its exposed nature made it an unnecessarily risky spot to camp. Theories about this decision vary. Some suggest worsening weather forced them to stop prematurely, while others believe Dyatlov wanted to challenge his team by practicing camping on an exposed slope. A more sinister interpretation is that the group was forced to camp there due to external circumstances, possibly by military personnel who encountered them along the way. When the search team arrived at the site weeks later, the scene they uncovered was unsettling. The hikers' tent had been slashed open from the inside, as if they were fleeing something in a panic. Their belongings, including warm clothing and essential gear, were left behind, indicating they had rushed out in desperation. Bare footprints in the snow led to a nearby tree line, where two of the hikers, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko, were found under a cedar tree. They were barely clothed and showed signs of burns on their hands and feet, as if they had tried to build a fire but failed to sustain it. The tree above them had broken branches, suggesting they might have climbed it in an attempt to escape something or someone. The other bodies were scattered across the terrain. Some were found lying in the snow, while others were discovered months later in a ravine. The condition of these victims raised the most questions. One had a fractured skull. Others had broken ribs so severe they were compared to injuries from car crashes. Lyudmila Dubinina was found without her tongue, eyes, and parts of her lips, adding a macabre detail to an already baffling case. Traces of radiation were detected on the clothing of two hikers, an anomaly that has yet to be fully explained. Official reports dismiss the findings as contamination from one hiker's workplace, but skeptics argue this doesn't account for the precise distribution of the radioactive material. Was the group exposed to fallout from a nearby weapons test? Or could they have encountered something radioactive during their trek? Adding to the mystery, villagers in the region reported seeing orange orbs of light in the sky around the time of the hikers' deaths. While these sightings have been dismissed as meteors or Soviet missile tests, they remain a cornerstone of theories linking the incident to military experiments. Some suggest the hikers could have been caught in the shockwave of a parachute mine explosion, an experimental weapon known for creating devastating injuries similar to those seen on the victims. The Soviet government's response to the Dyatlov Pass incident has fueled speculation for decades. Investigators were reportedly instructed to wrap up the case quickly, and key evidence, such as photographs taken by the hikers, was redacted or withheld. The official explanation, citing a compelling natural force, satisfied no one, leaving the door open for alternative theories. The area around Dyatlov Pass was declared off-limits for 3 years following the tragedy. While officials claimed this was a safety measure, some believe it was an attempt to cover up evidence of military activity. Eyewitnesses later claimed to have seen uniformed men near the site during the early stages of the investigation, raising questions about whether the hikers' deaths were truly accidental. While the military testing theory is one of the most popular explanations, others have proposed more speculative scenarios. One posits that Zolotaryov, the war veteran, may have been a spy with ties to classified Soviet operations. If his mission intersected with the group's trek, it's possible the hikers became collateral damage in a larger covert operation. Another theory suggests the hikers encountered escaped subjects from a secret Soviet experiment, perhaps involving human endurance or behavior under extreme stress. Though this idea veers into the realm of science fiction, it underscores the era's atmosphere of secrecy and paranoia. Despite countless investigations, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved. Why did 9 experienced hikers flee into freezing temperatures without adequate clothing? What caused the fatal injuries that baffled even seasoned forensic experts? If avalanche do, so why is there radioactive? And why has the Soviet and later Russian government remained tight-lipped about the case? And what is this image? The hiker's story is more than just a tragedy. It's a window into the shadows of history, where natural forces, human error, and military ambition intersect. As long as questions linger, the Dyatlov Pass incident will continue to inspire debate, fascination, and fear. And so, from missing nuclear bombs to fatal expeditions, these military mysteries remind us of the thin line between the known and the unknowable. 3 mysteries, 3 stories, and not a single definitive answer. They're puzzles that linger, daring us to make sense of what doesn't seem to fit. But maybe that's the real allure of these mysteries. They remind us that for all the knowledge we've amassed, there are still places we can't go, questions we can't answer, and truths hidden in the shadows. And sometimes that's scarier than anything else. So, what do you think? Are these events just products of human error and circumstance, or do they hint at something bigger, something we're not meant to understand? Share your theories in the comments, and let's uncover the unknown together. If this left you with more questions than answers, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and join a community that doesn't shy away from the unexplained. We are Freak File channel that bring mystery and real horror story to life via documentary. And remember,